Hey everyone, this is Ava DuVernay, and welcome to a first for ARRAY, our first podcast. And guess what it's about? Our baby, our very favorite thing, Queen Sugar. Aww. And I'm so happy to be joined on this very first ARRAY podcast and this very first Queen Sugar podcast for the final season of the show with two of my closest collaborators on this series, Paul Garnes, the president of ARRAY Filmworks, and my executive producing partner on the show for 7 seasons.
7 seasons.
And the star of the show, our leading lady, number one on the call sheet. Her name is Rutina Wesley, and she is our goddess. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
I'm so happy you're here. So here we are.
I know, it's so exciting. And, you know, one of the things that the podcast gives us a chance to is to slow down and have a conversation about the show and about the episode. And it seems like we have to start with just talking about it's the last season. We got into this shooting the first episode of the last season. What did you think getting back into town?
I think when I came back into town, I was kind of I didn't know what to think. I was kind of overwhelmed, but I told myself, I was like, I'm just going to stay present. And I'm just kind of got to get through each day and do it that way instead of thinking ahead about like the future that it's ending and all of that. So I just tried to stay like in the moment and have a lot more fun than I've had over the years, and really kind of bring it on home in a positive and like a light, way that was like light. Yeah,
Rutina and I were talking about just processing where we are with the show ending and really maybe not understanding it fully until we would have normally started a new season. And what people may not know is that we shoot every year. We've shot right at the beginning of Mardi Gras.
Right.
And it's always been like a circus of how do we shoot the show around Mardi Gras? How do we stay out of the way of the parades? And, you know, it's been always such a big adventure to try to figure that out.
Yeah, well, this year was no different.
It wasn't.
It was no different, but
I just think of like when you first came, that first season, we came down there and you couldn't even get to the hotel. You had to get out of the car with your suitcase.
Yeah.
Like a few blocks away because it was so nuts.
Yeah. Well, that's before we learned we need to do it a little bit later.
Yes.
And we got the rhythms of it, especially Paul, who basically moved down there. I was always going back and forth, and there was a few seasons in there when I was making When They See Us and 13th and some other things where I couldn't get down, but Paul was, you know, the other part of me who was just right there all the time. And so you both got to know the city so well. The city is New Orleans, of course, that we start to get the rhythms of it. And I also think the city got the rhythms of us. I mean, by the time we wrapped, we had shot in so many locations around that city that people really felt like and feel like our show is theirs there.
I think it's a great way to get into episode 1 of the finale season. And we open on something that we don't traditionally see on Queen Sugar. Usually we start at the farm and the sun is coming up and it's like this beautiful shot of the land. But this year it was different. This year we started on something completely different. Yeah,
on purpose. We wanted to make sure that Ralph Angel was off the land because that's the crux of the farm plot line, which the farm is a character, we might as well say. And so, but the farm is away from the family separated from the land. And so opposite of land, sea. So we had him, in a fishing boat. And who do we know that has fished in the past? Oh, our old friend Trin. Just because she happens to be an ex-girlfriend, maybe that helps with a little drama.
Right.
We throw it in there, but we see that it's all harmless. When you first saw it or read it in the script, did you think, oh my gosh, are they going down a certain road with Trin, or did you think of that at all?
I thought about it.
Okay.
I had that thought, but then I was like, let me just keep going and see what happens. But it was a nice little hint of that drama of like, dun, dun, dun.
Right.
Like, wait a minute. But it was also beautiful to have them back together, Trin and Ralph Angel, just to see that for another little moment. I thought it was really, really nice.
And how much they've both grown up.
One of the great moments to me in the beginning is, I don't know, it's a little bit of a red herring, right? You see Trin, you see Ralph Angel come up, and then all of a sudden, Trin's husband walks up.
Right.
And you have to tell me this. The line is, he says, hey, Ralph, how are you?
Yeah.
And she's like, Ralph Angel. Is it shade? Is he throwing Ralph Angel shade?
I don't think he's throwing him shade. I think that I feel like it is he's not invested enough in this man to learn his name properly. You know what I mean? He's treating him like a worker. And he's not the greatest boss. So he's treating him like a worker who he doesn't know and not realizing the depth of the relationship. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Trin was a little defensive.
She was.
Like Ralph Angel.
That's right.
She did.
like, okay.
She said it firmly.
That's right. But then this leads us to talk about the name Ralph Angel, okay? Because we just say it now like, oh, Ralph Angel, like it's no problem. That name is a wild and beautiful name. It's unruly. It's Natalie Bazell in the script. I mean, in the book, and there's a lot that we changed from the book. But when I saw that name on the page, I thought that is Ralph Angel, and it's come to mean so much to us. And people will just say Ralph. They'll never call him Ralph. They'll never call him Angel. He's Ralph Angel. Yeah. It just shows how the familiarity and our love for him has made that
normal. Yeah, it's true.
Completely normal.
Right. You would normally say, wait, your name is it Ralph or is it Angel?
Right.
It's Ralph
We
Angel.
just be like, Ralph Angel. He introduced himself. People nod, keep going like it's no problem. But your name, so you know your name changed where you're not in the book.
I know.
So, and I don't think I ever told you. Did I ever tell you where I got Nova?
I think you may have, yes, but I've since.
Nova is actually a good friend of mine, an actor.
Oh, yes. I remember Amari.
Omari
Yes,
Hardwick named his daughter
Yes.
Nova. And I
Yes.
said, oh my gosh, that name is incredible. My name's Ava. I said, if I ever had a daughter, which I'm not going to, I would name her Nova because Ava Nova. How cute. Since my films and my shows are my children, I named her Nova. Isn't that a beautiful name? It's so beautiful.
It has so much weight to it.
It does.
And a good energy to it,
Yeah.
too.
Perfect
it's
for her.
A beautiful name.
Perfect for her.
I like that when we were doing that adaptation, you were writing it and adding that character. That character changed so much from the original script to what you ended up portraying. But one of the things that stayed in there was like her connection to the earth, her spiritualism. How did you connect to that immediately?
You know what? I did because I remember Nova used to have her garden, and then she had her grow room. But I definitely, the more scenes that you had for me where I actually got to touch the land and get in there and do it, really sort of inspired me as an actor to sort of to play her in a way that was like rooted. And she's very grounded, even though sometimes her roots come up and she's a little unstable. But she always goes back to the land and her love for it. That's actually one of my favorite parts of Nova is her love for the land, and that she made all her own vegetables and stuff, and then would cook these meals sometimes. Like all those little things you added in there. I just loved. It just fed me as an actor. It gave me something to do that was active, and also, like I said, that kept me grounded in her.
I think it's so interesting that you're talking about that because I think of those images from season 1 with her in the garden, and first episode, Calvin comes to the garden, says goodbye, she's doing her thing. This season really allows us to understand why while Nova is in love with land and nature, why she was separated from the farm, why she separated herself from the farm. It's in this season and last season through Billy and that storyline that we start to understand what happened. Why did she move to the city? Why did she move away? Why was she somewhat, estranged from her father at the time of his passing? Like, not estranged, but they weren't on great terms. So we've gone through all of these seasons, never fully delving into it. And one of the things we want to do in this final season is just like resolve all the secrets, all the feelings, all the loose ends. And that was one that was always like, gosh, she loves this farm, but why was she not there during those times? And so you really get a lot of that this season, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. And last season with Billy.
A little bit with Billy. That's where it started.
Yeah.
With the reveal of everything that happened between the two of them. With outing her. Yeah. Outing Nova. I think it made Nova feel really kind of small, and she didn't know where to go, and I think she got to a point where she felt like she didn't have anybody, so I think she kind of maybe decided to step away from it. But yes, she still loved the land, but she didn't feel like comfortable or at home or seen fully.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So speaking of loose ends, though, Nova starts off this season with the same person that she was in a relationship with last season.
Look at that.
Wow. How
at
can
that.
it be? This is a new day
Look
for
at
Nova
that.
Bordelon.
Yes, Nova is liking Dominic. I think, Dominic is able to I think Dominic sees Nova for who she is. I also think he gets in her mind in a way that someone hasn't been in there before and challenges her in a way that she likes and understands. And so it's nice to see the two of them together. It's nice to see Nova stick and stay in the room, stay with somebody. Because she likes, take her legs and run if she can. But I think, like I said, Dominic just really, he's looked at her in a way I think she hasn't felt like that. She hasn't felt that enough to stay in the room. So when she meets him, it's like, ooh, maybe this is it. And it takes some time.
I like that it took time. I
it's
like
not
that it
quick.
wasn't he was a neighbor and it kind of started that way. I mean, I was really hesitant to make him an academic. He's a certain kind of academic, but he is in academia. He works at a university. And we had that with Dr. Dubois.
Dubois, yes, we did.
Dr. Dubois, which she ran through him real quick. And I was like, well, what's going to be the difference between Dr. Dubois and, are we just going to, they're very different men, even though they're both in academia. And I think the thing with Dr. Dubois is he was always kind of trying to challenge you. He wanted her to be a certain thing that she wasn't.
Yes. Like he challenged her in a way that was going against her grain, and I think that Dominic challenges her in a way that goes with her grain.
That's a
goes
nice
with
way to
her.
do
It helps her. It helps her to grow, and I don't think she was really growing with Dr. Dubois. It was more just like it was against the grain. They just didn't fit together. So
Yes.
Yeah, but when we meet Mo, Nova instantly has a moment.
Nova.
It's a reflex.
She can't help it. She can't help it. She sees something that she likes or that looks good to her, she's gonna look, okay? and sometimes if it looks back, then we might have trouble.
Well, she's looking back.
Yeah.
Mo is looking back.
Yeah, Mo looks back. So, it's
Gonna see what happens.
but that's the Nova. That's what I love about her.
Yes.
I love that she's kind of you never know what you're gonna get with her.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see where, if any of these things, where they go as the season goes on.
Right. Absolutely.
So one of the things that was great season one is that we had Ethan, who was only 5 when we were shooting the first season. It's kind of hard to believe that, he's this almost adolescent kid now. But this year we had a baby on set.
Yeah.
And the funny part was not everybody, the baby didn't attach itself to everybody.
She was particular. She was particular.
What is she like?
She loved Omar. And I think she didn't mind. She liked Bianca.
She liked Bianca. She didn't feel Kofi.
She didn't feel Tina.
She didn't feel Tina. Yeah.
Just didn't connect with her. How about with you?
Stone face. She would just go
She played Let Me Play. I played peekaboo with her one time, and I kind of I tried to get her to stop crying during the wedding, and she kind of played with me, but then she wasn't playing with me. So wasn't really feeling me either, I guess.
So she would just take to some people and
she was super selective.
That's funny.
Oh, and Desiree.
Baby.
She loved Desiree.
She loved Desiree.
Our beautiful
AD.
black woman, first AD,
Yeah, she loved
Desiree.
Desiree.
Shout out to Desiree. She liked her.
She did.
Yeah.
She did.
It was just, it was hit or miss.
It was hit or miss. And if she didn't like you, you were dead to her. You could not come back from it. She would just be like, yeah, I'm not messing with this person.
So true.
But it was nice to have that energy back on set because I feel like, Ethan is grown up on set. One of the great moments is when he first came back and, he was so big now.
Yeah.
And Ethan did a couple of scenes in episode 1 where he was just doing a Zoom, but I was just shocked how much he's grown. And we noticed that even with Kofi and other people, they've grown up on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching first of all, I was watching the first episode not long ago. And it just, I said, was everyone a child? You look like an actual teenage child. I said, everyone looks so, not just young physically, but just innocent. Like, I think it was just the vibe and what we were
Yeah.
doing and not knowing if it would work. And you could get a sense of play and adventure and a big question mark. And it was just wide open, and you can just see it on you all's faces.
That was beautiful. I watched that recently too.
Really?
Yeah, I shed some tears, some beautiful tears. We just kind of, it's the spirit that you know, casting all of us together. And then having that spirit and energy on a set, and then having a fantastic crew that had similar like spirits that were just beautiful, people who were about the work, people who supported us. We could fly, and it was really great to, you know, watch it back. And I'm like, wow, we were flying. I mean, we've been doing it for 7 seasons and we're still flying.
Yeah.
But to see how it all started and how, young and innocent we were, and we were just so happy to be a part of something like this. And then to look at where we are now is like,
Right.
I would have never thought, or you couldn't have told me that 7 years ago, because you never know if it's gonna keep going or not. But it just was so, you know, it was overwhelmingly beautiful, because I was like, gosh, I had forgotten so many things, and then I was just like, man. I was like, everybody is just like flying, like flying high, you know, and then people loved it, and now here we are. But that might be my favorite episode
101?
ever.
Really?
Yeah, it
It's
might
pretty
just be
great.
just seeing everybody being established and all the. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a good start.
It was.
Gotta start strong, end strong.
One of the great moments for me season to season is our first time whenever we go back out to the farm, which again, usually episode 1, we're out there for a period of time. This time we only went out there to get like one shot that's in the episode. And I have to admit, even it's was as jarring in real life pulling up to the farm and seeing the windows boarded up and the signs that said, you know, Landry Enterprises. Like, it was physically jarring, like to pull up for the first time as an actual person and see it. But even seeing it on screen this time, and, you know, Ralph Angel not even wanting to drive down the road to see his own house because it hurts so bad. It's kind of like a specter throughout the whole episode, you know, just the fact that this land is in jeopardy and gone for the first time in their family history. It really did have a big effect. What do you think about it for the rest of the cast? Like you know, each character is kind of dealing with it differently.
Yeah, I think it's hard for each of them, especially even for Nova, because she does love the land so much, but she also knows how much it means to her brother and to the family legacy. I remember when I read that, I actually read it in the script, the Bordelon home is boarded up with Landry Enterprises, and I had to stop for a minute. I had to stop reading. I took like a breath, and I was like,
Right.
you know, and then when we shot it and I got to finally see it, I was like, it made me feel some type of way, because they worked so hard for that land, especially Ralph Angel. You know, just when he's like trying to get it all together, it's like almost all taken away from him again. So I think each character deals with it differently, but I think it hits them all pretty hard, I would say.
And from a production capacity, Paul, talk a little bit about the land, you know, when we found that location, but then also how we as a production, we keep that space even when we're not shooting. So we have we kind of quote unquote owned the space
For
the last 7 years. And what you're the one who's been maintaining it. I mean, basically you've owned a farm for the last 7 years. But the relationship to the land and how we first found it, a little bit about it.
Yeah, we were looking, and you probably don't even know all this backstory of when we were looking for the farm. We had started looking maybe a few weeks before Ava came out for the first time to see kind of our selects. And we had found that place, and one of the key things is that Ava had in her mind from the script was this connection to the house, to the land, which in modern Louisiana isn't as common as it used to be, because any open space has been developed and now they're building new houses. So finding like an older traditional home tied to land turned out to be kind of tough. And we found this house, which that particular place was an active farm, was only using as a storage place. They were keeping tables and chairs. And when we walked in there for the first time, and it was like, yeah, we're going to put a porch right here. And there was no porch there. That porch didn't exist. I don't know if you ever knew that.
Oh, no, I didn't know
that porch
that.
did not exist. It was just a back door and a step down to the yard. And so that porch, which has become like the anchor of that house.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes you just go to the porch.
we just
You
go
don't
to
even
the
go in the house.
porch. Go in the house. That porch is so important. So many great scenes have happened on that porch. Was built just for the purpose of our show. But we always, and I feel like even to the last day that we shot there, we always talked about the connection that we as African Americans, the descendants of enslaved people, have to that piece of property, not directly, but figuratively, just knowing that people's lives were used there in a way that enriched others and stole from others, right? Like the legacy of that world could be in that space, telling our own story.
Because it was that was a plantation. So
plantation,
where we shoot was an actual
yeah.
Plantation where enslaved people worked for
Yes.
nothing. Yeah.
Where there's still structures from that time that exist, where there are trees that were there, that were still there, that our, ancestors probably sought shade under, that we were, or were used as weapons
against
them.
Yeah.
Were still there. Like it was, for me, it was ever present. Every time we were there, that conversation would come up. It was kind of unavoidable. And so it was always such a pleasure to. I mean, look, we didn't own it. You said I owned a farm. We didn't own it, but we did feel ownership. Like it felt like part of our family. Like we would show back up. Hey, we're back.
Right,
Right. And I was probably the only person who enjoyed the 6 a.m. calls out in Vacherie.
You probably were the only
person. Because
Like driving out there.
I enjoyed it. It was so peaceful, and we would get there because to start at 6, you guys would be there at 4 before the sun came up to go through hair and makeup, and it was just something about the sunrise and being there with the family first thing on a Monday morning, because it was always a Monday morning, that it was just so special. Like that, if I'm going to miss anything over the years of being there, I really enjoyed the peace of being. I'm a city kid, and being out there for those moments were just really special to me.
Paul loves the farm.
I do.
Paul loves the farm.
That's where I felt the first energy, like the farm, the energy of like, whoa, that's where it hit me. Like I didn't feel anything until we got out to Vacherie. And then I was like hit with like intense energy. And I remember one time I went just to like, you can feel it in the trees. Like I put my arm around a tree just to hug it and you can just feel so much energy. But that was for me kind of solidified like why we're doing our show, like being on that land and doing a show, like our show on that land and how important that was. And so I just, I'm with you on that. Like it was very eye-opening for me when I actually stepped foot on it and saw all of the cabins and the signs and the thing. It was just like, you can't help but feel it,
Yeah.
So.
I feel like that's one of the things that makes that conversation that Darla has with Parthena so tough, right? That Parthena's at a point where she could lose her land. Like she'll lose her generational connection to this property just by an oversight, or malice of somebody. But I think that sets up for the season a lot of what's about to happen. Just that adversarial, which has been happening for 6 seasons on the show, which is someone's trying to take the land from these people who work the land, who honestly own it. Someone's trying to take it from them.
But in this season, it gets took.
Yeah.
So last season we had the Bordelon farm going under, and now just to continue that, make sure that the audience knows the pressure that the whole community is under. First couple episodes, Parthena's is under pressure, and so the question will be, will she lose hers as well, and who else will lose theirs?
Yeah.
This is really not just mismanagement or a challenge with Ralph Angel and the Bordelon farm. This is widespread, and the Landrys are ratcheting it up a notch. Like they are really going for it. And so, yes, it's the return of Parker. You got old man Landry's in there. His sister's in the clink. Where's she? She in jail. They're all swarming around.
I love David Jensen, by the way.
We need to talk about David Jensen for a quick. Let them know who that is.
David Jensen plays Sam Landry, and he is fantastic. He's so funny.
So you would never imagine how funny, and kind the actor who plays Landry is.
He's just, I mean, like, I love him because working with him is like you just never know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get something good. So I literally sit back. It's like a class. I watch him. I'm like, look at this guy go.
Right.
You know, and then he's so sweet. He's a gentleman. Like he's a beautiful human being.
Yes.
But his work is exquisite. I really do think he really embodied Sam Landry. He really plays that character like in a way that I don't think anybody else could have done that.
Yeah.
Right. It's with a little wink he does it.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important because in order to tell these stories, and I had this on Selma, and When They See Us, you have to have white actors who are playing as a foil to the Black experience in so many situations. Like they have to go all in and be the thing that they may not be, right? They're actors, so they have to dig deep. But sometimes when they're doing those uncomfortable things, it's a challenge. But he knew that he was there to serve the story. And so he would come in and he would do what he needed to do. I just wish I could have been in the room when we gave him a Black daughter in the script. Because all of a sudden, he been playing one thing and now, you know. So there's going to be more of that this season as well.
Yes.
From Parker.
Yes, I love in that moment at the end of the episode where Sam pulls up and interrupts the baby dedication.
It's a great closer.
Like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like Sam
yeah.
pulls up just like, oh, I'm just here.
The newspaper just to talk to you about. Congratulations on this.
By the way,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. I was just like, that was actually a fun scene to kind of film because I remember I was like, uh-oh, Tina Lifford about to get him. I was like, Vi's about to get him. You know, but that's what I love about our cast though. Everyone's so playful. And also people don't mind going places, like really getting raw. So we can get nasty with each other and then like hug it out afterwards, you know. But when she was like, Sam, I was like, ooh, here we go. And I love how me and Rob basically, you know, are just kind of quiet. We're just kind of like letting her do the lead. But he's just so... He's a little snake.
Yeah.
You know, he's snaky with it.
Yeah, he likes to come through the yard and see what's going on with them in the back.
Like he don't know that there's
exactly the dedication.
exactly
what's
going
He knew
on.
what was going on, and so I thought it was so interesting when you say like whether it's with David Jensen or in Tina Lifford in that scene that you look forward to. So when you get your script, are there certain scenes where you're like, "Ooh, I really want to do that," or "Ooh, I really want to see them do that"? Like does that come up for you?
It does come up.
What
for
have
me.
been some of your favorites that you like? What combinations of folk have you enjoyed?
Oh, Ava. Everybody. No, I've enjoyed everybody. If I talk about my favorite scenes, you know, it is the opening of season 1, episode 1, the opening sequence. Okay. When I read that, I was like, but I didn't think what I read and saw in my mind was not what I saw on that screen. It was even more magnificent than I could think it could ever be.
One of the relationships that I think has been so poignant, one of my favorites of yours is when you put the sweater around Micah's waist.
That's another nice moment.
You know, and just the overall relationship where you really feel the love between the two.
Yeah.
You really feel this special thing that no one else in the family has. He doesn't have it with anyone else in the family. You don't have it with anyone. Just the two of you. And it's even before he, you know, became an activist and pursued that path, it was just always this connection between the two.
Yeah.
That wasn't ever really anything intentional in the writer's room, like, oh, this is what's going to happen. It came from seeing the two of you together and just seeing how, oh, there's something there. Let's write for them.
Yeah, she really cares for him, for Micah in a way. Nova cares for Micah in a way that is... like it's like she's the auntie. She is an auntie, but she really is that cool auntie that you can talk to, that you can confide in. And I think, you know, Nick and I do have great chemistry. He's easy going to work with and stuff. So it was just easy to just sit in that pocket with him. And I had forgot about that moment, but yeah, that with the sweatshirt around his waist was just so like.
This is when he is
comes out of jail
after he's assaulted by the officer and. Yeah, she protects him by wrapping the thing.
And that no one else saw that but
No
her.
one else saw but you. Yeah.
Because they were too busy fighting.
Yeah.
And look, you know, it was just like she's been there for him in those moments like that, and it's just beautiful.
I love the way you did it. You know, there's so many ways that we talk about, you know, director and actor. We talk about these things before we do it. Oh, will you go around the back of him? How will you take it off of your body and put it on his? And you face to face with him so that no one else can really see what you're doing. And it looks like you might be hugging him if you were looking at it from across the parking lot. Just all those little gestures, you know. wonderful. So memorable. It's a beautiful scene.
Well, I don't think we can talk about chemistry in Nova without talking about Calvin.
Texas. No, yes, Calvin. Oh my gosh, me and Greg, man. I remember when we tested Ava back in the day. We tested together, and he walked in that room, and like he had me. And later on, I remember Greg Vaughn, he said to me, he was like, yeah, I walked in there and I was like, oh, I got this. I got this. And it makes me blush every time he says it, but I was like, oh, really? You just knew that you had this? But he did. The energy was like undeniable. And I remember you actually mentioned that. You talked about our test and you were like, you got the energy was like flying off the screen. He makes me feel beautiful. He makes me feel sexy. He sees me. He understands me in a way. He looks at me in ways I've never been looked at. Like he just makes her. He just makes her feel like so much of a woman, and I think she loves that. We see her run from it, but I think Nova really sort of loves Calvin in a way that she hasn't loved anyone else. But I think she's was afraid of that love, afraid to fully realize it and go there and see what would happen if she did,
For them also is other things. Like that was the main conflict. That's why, I gave her a white love of her life because she's so black in every other sense of it. And she had to really reconcile that for herself. How far can that go? I mean, remember, it was a whole long thing. The family never met him for several seasons, right? She wouldn't take him out nowhere for a good several episodes, right?
Very
like their lives were so just them and they were wrapped up in this magic. But when the outside world came in, every time it knocked on the door, she would close it, right? And so, I mean, from great scene, you going over to Nova going over to his
the house and seeing
mother's what was it? His
the
grandfather
party. The grandpa.
Grandpa, what was the name?
I
can't remember.
It's escaping me.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
Went by the granddad's party, and ex-wife is there.
Yeah.
And the last time we'd seen ex-wife was beautiful shot, Rutina in the car as Nova looking up at the window, episode 1, looking up at the window, seeing him in his house with his
family,
full-on family
with the kids and everything. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah,
it's just tough for Nova to because I think. I always thought about Nova. I was like, I think she wants that. Like, she actually wants that for herself, but she's not quite sure how to go about getting there, or she's just too scared. But in her heart, I think she would want that. So, it's like, it was just hard. I remember when I watched it, I was like, gosh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because she loves him, but she can't have him.
No.
Or maybe she could have a long time ago. I don't know. She ran away. It's kind of her fault. But
I think in that first episode, it's a question of, and it's been interesting to see how he unfolds over the season. Because in that first episode, when you see him upstairs with the family and she's down there, is a moment when you think, is he playing her? Does he really feel the same? Because when they're together, you're like, he loves her.
Right.
But then when you see this, so it takes time. It all of the work that we did on you all's relationship was making sure that people knew that it was equal on both sides. Like, he was in love with this woman. And it took a little bit more work because, some people are like, don't know what's going on. But, I mean, literally through the seasons, they turned on him. Like, they started like, he's cute, but, And then it was just like, where is he?
Yeah.
He needs something. Who is Dr. Jabbar? Who is Reagan Gomez,
Chantal.
Who are all these people? We want Calvin, so they loved him.
Yeah,
but I like the way it turned, the way it unfolded. In that, there were some fundamental things that they just couldn't get over.
Yeah,
not only was he he's a cop.
Yeah,
he was a cop. You're a black activist, and you're in love.
The date in the finale of season 1. I mean, where you guys go to the bar.
I was gonna say that's actually one of my other. That's another favorite scene of mine. Not favorite, but favorite because of what it did.
To watch.
I remember that night.
So tough to watch.
I remember that night.
My family was there.
Oh,
and that was my first time my grandmother had ever been on a set.
Oh, she had to see that.
That was her first time seeing me act like that.
Wow.
And it was also the first time she said to me, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you told
Remember
me
I told you that, so I took that,
me
and I was
that.
like, yes.
Yes.
But that was, oh my gosh, that was...
Refresh their memory.
Okay, so it's the scene with me and Calvin when we're going out, and it's a beautiful night out on the town.
On location in New Orleans.
in
Paul
New
had
Orleans,
shut down the
yes.
streets. He
Yep.
had done all the
Yep,
things
at a
he
bar
does.
on a Friday night.
Yes.
And him and another cop kind of get into it because the cop I think the white cop put his hand on my butt. I think he kind of
No,
felt me up.
he
I'm trying to
No,
remember
he said
that.
something
he
about
says something
about
like,
black.
"Oh, well,
black.
it starts off cordial, and,
Right.
and he's saying, "Hey, who's this lovely lady you're with?"
Mm-hmm.
And when he introduces you, he immediately is like, "I know who this is," and that's when it switches. He becomes aggressive, and then he hits you on the butt.
Yeah, he felt me up.
Yeah.
He felt me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he
Yeah, I know.
and then
I know.
I think that might be the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. Like
was
having
tough.
somebody spit in my face.
I'm sorry.
Was,
I'm sorry, Rue.
No, you
We
know
had to
what?
do it.
We had to see that though, because there
Yeah.
was something to that. And Greg Vaughn, like it was like a fire was lit under his butt. Like he let loose. Like I wouldn't want to cross Greg Vaughn like in real life because he let that boy have it. Like he just, but then you see him like stick up for Nova in a way, and you see how much he loves her, what he'll do for her. Like he'll go to jail.
That's
He'll,
what that scene was for.
Yes.
To say, this is real. He really feels this way. This is to another cop. This is like, they are real. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Ugh, got the chills.
Yeah.
Tonight thinking about that. Yeah, it was. Whew,
That was a big one.
It was a big one. It was a big one, but we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. Yeah, and then my mom made it in there dancing.
yes.
And Nima Barnett.
Yeah,
That was
David
awesome.
Barnett, our producing director that season. Yes.
That was great.
That was it back. You were talking about. We learned how to fly. That season was fly by the seat of your pants.
It was.
We were trying to figure it out that season.
Yeah,
We really were. We for the last, I guess, 6 seasons, we're in 7th now, 6 seasons, we've had 2 DPs, so 2 directors of photography, 2 different people who are in charge of camera who one will do all the even episodes and one will do all the odd episodes, so that when we're shooting one episode, the other DP can be preparing for what you'll see. But on season 1, we had one DP who was running around doing everything. He did all 13 episodes. Antonio Calvache, let's give him a shout out. And they were just things we didn't know. Paul and I Paul's done so many TV shows, but we're like, oh yeah, Antonio will be fine. He'll shoot all 13. And and
he must have lost 25 pounds.
oh yeah, no.
I bet.
And it's just like all of the things that we refined. And so every season we try to refine, and you get to a point where you try to just make it a little bit better. But in order to do that, you have to have an incredible crew. You have to have a cast that's willing to, keep pushing to get to the best place. I mean, I just thought we had the best cast throughout the piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we should talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen or what people can expect.
I hate it.
It's the first episode.
We're talking more about season 1 because we don't want to mess up and say too much about season 7. We don't want to mess up. But in this episode 1, you've seen
that Ralph Angel's living with.
With Vine Hollywood. Ralph Angel and Darla are living with Vine Hollywood because they have lost that farm. And so now you got 2 couples and a baby in the house. And I wonder how it's going to work out with Vi and Darla because Vi raised Blue when Darla couldn't. And now Darla's raising True. And Vi has to kind of be on the side.
She's already given the baby a neck bone. Right in the middle.
You know what I mean? Like, how's that going to work? So that'll be interesting to see. But then also, I think it's, some of what Shaz and the writer's room came up with in terms of some of the complications of those 2 couples in the house. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens from there. Then also you have the saga of Nova and Dominic. And just like, it's so interesting because sometimes on Twitter, people be like, I don't trust him.
They think he's FBI.
I think he's an actual narc. I was like, what did we do to make you think? Where are they getting that from, Rue?
I don't know
Where's it coming from?
I don't know if it's coming from. You know how sometimes you just see somebody, you just don't know them that much, so you just don't really trust them. Because you don't know that much about them. You're like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust it.
Scene when you guys you got raided, and you both got taken down, and he just showed up.
That's true.
And then you both were on the grass, and people were like, he's not looking distressed enough. He's not stressed. He knew it was going to happen. I'm like, you guys, it's so funny. Sometimes we look at stuff on Twitter, and we be like,
It is
wow.
hilarious. But I think even in not giving spoilers, I think we can honestly say there's no chance that he's a narc.
Let me just say this right now to everyone in Queen Sugarland. He is not an officer of the law involved with law enforcement in any way. Let's kill that conspiracy theory.
Please.
It is not true. I promise you I won't go back on it. He is not a narc. Micah.
Yeah, Micah.
Micah is coming up. He's a junior at Xavier now. He's taking his photography classes, and he in this episode does he see her?
Kiki pops up.
Yeah,
Kiki again. So Kiki is back, and we'll be seeing her throughout the season, and it'll be interesting to see how their relationship.
I mean, we doubled down really on Michael, the complication of who Michael West is. I mean,
that last season with Isaiah.
With Isaiah. But we see him talking to Isaiah still. We see, unnamed co-ed still at Micah's apartment.
Yeah,
in
I
this
like
episode.
I like that
Did
too.
you see that?
I did. I loved it.
And then there's clearly.
And he's so breezy about it.
Yeah, he cool.
I'm just trying to be like, okay, what are the young kids now? How do they do it? And she's like, hey, bye. And he's like, okay, bye. And I was like, is that how it goes now? But it's a nice little scene.
Yeah,
the
no,
two
it's
of them.
nice.
And so he's out. He's sowing his oats however he needs to.
Yeah, he's become a man.
He is. He is. So we see a lot of that. And then I will have to say a storyline that I've been wanting to do for a while. We played with it a little bit here or there, but we could never quite get it to click. But last season, we really just invested in it, and you're going to see it bear beautiful fruit this season. It's to see, now people think we're doing big things because we have Hollywood and Vi, but that's not where mature love ends. And so Prosper and his romantic pursuits are so important to show on camera. You don't see it. Really, his whole romance with Sandy and how that is going to unfold as a real relationship that has real time. It's not off on the side, like real weight, is really special because I think we just don't see it enough. We don't see it enough. And also, he's beautiful.
Yes. People love.
He's a beautiful actor and a
People
beautiful
love Prosper.
man.
Yeah.
And yes, and I told Henry, sir, like Henry, like bench presses and lifts weights. Like the actual actor has guns in his arms, like actual hard rock muscles. And I'm always putting him in big old shirts and trying to hide. Like his sleeve comes down to his elbow so that I cannot show the muscle underneath. This is real. Whenever you see him, he'll never have a tight shirt on because he's got a six-pack pecs and a full, biceps.
Yep.
This season, you might see some of it because Sandy's around.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Parthenia was fronting him.
Parthenia,
what's
said,
up?
what you going to do with my friend?
She's like, what's up?
What's
Because
Time is
you
ticking.
gonna keep her waiting or what? Yeah.
Time is ticking. What are you doing?
Time is ticking. Did you see, what's our other farmer's name? Cordell.
Cordell.
Like, let me go. But those storylines and those set of characters are so nice. And, Henry Sanders, for those who don't know, legendary actor in the canon of Black cinema. If you don't know his earlier work, you should definitely look him up. He's one of our greats.
Yes, he is.
Well, I guess next week there'll be an episode number 2 for season 7, and we'll see what surprises are there.
Yes, episode 702. Just to remind folks, we get the numbers because it's the first number is the number of the season, and the second number is the number of the episode in the season. So this is 701. Thank you so much for talking with us about it, Madame.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And sir. And next episode will be 702, and we're going to take you through the whole season up to 713, the finale of the final season of Queen Sugar. It's an honor to be with you. Thanks for joining us on our first podcast. We did it.
It was wonderful.
Pretty cool. See you.
Bye.
Bye.